Hello everybody, it's the 21st of August and if you look at these fields and a bird that's just startled Bobster. Come here Bob, come here. This is where, for me, it kind of all began with the sheep fatalities back in 2017. Got to watch him look. It were on this field, as you see now it's just a crop, it looks like barley. And back in 2017 there were 400 sheep on these fields, and this is where it was happening. I'm just walking down affected area now, and it's Saturday 21st of July 2018, and I know what I'm going to find here. A bit macabre, but we're coming to another one that's been done. And as you can see, face stripped. Very strange. I'll be contacting farmers shortly. It's not been dead long. There's rigour hasn't set into this animal. Look. Poor thing. I thought this had died down. We'd not had anything for a month, and then we get this. Right, I'm making some observations of this animal that's been killed. It's the 25th of July 2018. If you look here, where my shadow is, there's no blood. Nothing. Nothing, nothing. Yet here, I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up because of the sunlight, but this grass has got blood on it from here. The camera's not picking it up really, so this animal has died here, or been struck here, and then somehow ended up, probably, let's just do it, in places 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 20 feet away. This is where I was spending lots of time between 4:30 and 8 AM 3 or 4 times a week in order to find these animals before other researchers, armchair experts could chip in with what they believed was responsible and what they believed was not responsible. That having been said, we never discovered what was killing the livestock, although it was unusual. Anybody that remembers me talking about it and writing about it back then, you know, these animals with facial stripping, eyes removed, ears removed and tongues removed. There's nothing natural about that. Here we go, let's just watch this little fella cope with the jungle. Not great running conditions for a dog because ticks are quite prevalent around here, so we'll have to check him when we get back. But as you can see, come here Bob, as you can't see, we've got the old RAF Bempton over there to my left, the North Sea out in front, and the northern side of Danesdyke to my right. And that's the direction we're going to head. So we'll no doubt pick this up along the way. Just a serene, beautiful summer day with the wind rustling through this crop. So let's just head towards Danesdyke now. Dog's on lead. He's actually behaving himself, but you don't get a second chance when you're walking along cliffs that range between 200 and 400 foot, dear. So we'll not take no risks. I'm at the back end of Danesdyke now, the north side. And when I talk about people's experiences with this strange descent into the lower silence and the fear that grips someone from nowhere, and people may have heard on podcasts, on radio shows that I've said that has happened to me once on these cliff tops, and it was here. It was along here. We'd been up on the ridge of Danesdyke, myself and Steve Ashbridge, and we were obviously walking back in the opposite direction to what I'm going now. It'd be midnight, just after, I'm not certain exact time. winter, and it came upon me. It felt oppressive, it felt silent, and I felt like I was being watched. I felt like there were eyes all over me. Well, look, we've got the North Sea, we've got Danes Dyke, we've got a field in front with a crop. There's nowhere for anything to hide. Yet on that night, I felt as though something was watching me. And my exact feelings, my exact emotions were fear. Extreme fear. Unusually, Steve never felt it. Now, in all of the years that I've done this, been to different locations, found myself in forests, found myself on the moors, I've never experienced anything like that before. Absolute horror that I felt. So, just thought I'd share that one and couple it with another, and couple it with a few more experiences which are similar from different locations, because we just never know when this fear is going to descend. One such episode was from a guy who contacted me last year, so that would be 2023, to say that it descended into some kind of anxiety and fear whilst driving a car around Broxa, or the edges of Broxa Forest. And it came over him all of a sudden. So have a listen to that one.
Harry told me that back in 2019 he owned a car and liked to go off-roading, exploring in the forests and woods around Broxa and Silfo Moor. He said that it wasn't anything too fancy. It was just a standard Honda Civic with some spot lamps on it. He would go out over Silfo Woods, Hackness and Broxa and the neighbouring forests, just driving around in the car. Harry clearly remembers that it happened on a Friday or Saturday evening, and the year was 2019. He had decided to go somewhere he hadn't been before, which was the West Side Road, the road that leads up to the Birch Hill campsite and Broxa Woods. At that point, it was nothing more than an ordinary evening. He said he was driving up the road quite slowly because it was a single-track road and had loads of loose stones on it, a typical logging road. As he began driving up, everything was fine. He had his music playing in the car and he felt somewhat excited to see the terrain. The surroundings were new to him and he wanted to see where the road would lead. Harry hadn't driven far up that road before it came to a fork. From there he could turn left to the scout camp or right and continue up into the woods. His immediate thought was, I'm not going towards the scout camp in case there are people up there, and he did not want to bother them. So he took a right on the road that led into the forest and began to steadily travel up the track. Everything was absolutely fine until he began to enter the woods. As soon as the car entered the woods, everything changed. Suddenly, Harry felt a very urgent need to get out of the woods. He was frightened. He told me that he genuinely had never felt fear quite like it before, adding that it was unusual for him because he was normally calm and collected. He had, after all, driven in the woods and the forests many times by himself in his Honda car. Nothing had previously bothered him. Despite the feeling of fear to get out of the woods that suddenly came over him, Harry kept on driving up the trail for another 200 to 300 meters. But the fear was about to overtake everything, and he did say he heard his own voice in his head screaming, "Leave!" He felt incredibly uneasy, which is very strange considering he was in a car with the doors locked. Harry told me that he quickly found an area to do a 3-point turn and left. He left a lot faster than he entered, with little consideration to be bothered about the stones on the road or if anyone was around. At this point he was doing 50 miles per hour on loose gravel on a single track road. He told me that he never saw anything, but he didn't stay to look around. He just knew he had to leave as soon as possible. Once again we hear about the fear projection that just overcomes a person. Is it all in our minds? Are we creating the fear? If we are, then why? Why, when we enter these places, does it not have that effect on every occasion? Why just once and then never again? There are so many examples of this invisible fear that I feel it has to be categorized. It has to be unexplained phenomena. But is it the effects of something much more sinister that is lurking in the shadows? Or does it stand alone as a phenomena in its own right?
So we've done our little walk, and this is the journey that I walked that night with Steve Ashbridge.
See, there's nothing to my right, nothing to my left. So what could evoke such a strong visceral reaction? Something didn't want me there, or my body, my animal instinct was saying, get away. But what was it? I've no idea.